Good morning, students. In today's class, we are starting with the Unit 4, and we just start with the important concept that is origin of magnetism in materials. See, a moving electric charge. When you start about the magnetism, right? What is actually the meaning of magnetism? Everybody know the material which is having the property of attraction and repulsion. We say magnetism, and what is the basic origin of this magnetism in the materials? Either it may be the macroscopically or microscopically. So the electric charge, the motion of electric charge, the movement of electric charge, so either it may be macroscopically or microscopically, is actually responsible for the magnetism. So the main the concept of magnetism will start with the different aspect, that is actually what are the things which are responsible for the origin of magnetism. So definitely we start with the nuclear spin of the electrons, and the particularly when the unpaired electrons are there. So these unpaired electrons required net magnetic moment to spinning the electron, and also the effect is the orbital movement of the electrons, and this magnetic moment actually results from the spin of single unpaired electrons, which is given by a Bose magneton, that is 9 point, that is having a fixed constant value 9.273 in 10 power of minus 24 ampere per meter square. So this is actually the basic information regarding how the magnetism is being, how this origin of magnetism in material takes place. So with this we'll just start with our basic concept here. So here we'll just start with this important parameters. What is actually the domain theory? Domains, what is actually the meaning of domain, and what is the domain theory, and who this domain theory was proposed by whom? So that actually that theory of domain was proposed by Weiss in the 19th century, that is 1907, which explains us the important, very important and significant property of the hysteresis and different properties of the ferromagnetic material. So we just start with actually what is actually the magnetic domains. So these magnetic domains are exhibited by a very high what you can say magnetized material, that is ferromagnetic material, which is actually divided. The ferromagnetic materials has been divided into very small regions, number of small regions which are called domains, and each domains is spontaneously magnetized. And this you can just see this, I'm talking about this particular areas or the region where you will find that there are large number of there are large number of small regions. You can see this is one region, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and you can just see that magnetic movements. See, you can just see the arrow mark is headed here. Here the arrow mark is slightly right inclined downward, right, nearly inclined, and going to the left hand side here and going towards the right hand side. You can just see these areas, right. We say that small regions, we call these small regions are nothing but domains. So they are existed in the ferromagnetic material. So what is actually the meaning of domain? A ferromagnetic material which is possessing a large number of regions, right, a small regions we are separated by a particular interface or the boundary, we call that thing as the domain. And each domain is actually spontaneously magnetized, and these direction of magnetization, definitely when I say magnetize, so you'll have direction of the magnetizing field. So the direction of magnetization which will be different for various domain to domain, and the net magnetization will be zero in the absence of external magnetic field. So here the two domains are separated. You can just see this is one domain and this is another domain. They are separated by some separated by some interface, and we say that the interface is nothing but a wall, and that wall is known as block wall. So this is actually the meaning and the semantic representation of the magnetic domains, right. So now when we say that magnetic field is applied, what will happen to the ferromagnetic material when you apply the magnetic field? So there are two types of movement magnetization is methods of magnetization which is possible. First is the movement of domain walls and the rotation of the domains. You can just see this the first aspect, the weak magnetic field is applied. So what will happen when you apply a very weak magnetic field? The domains
will have a dipoles which are parallel to the applied magnetic field, and definitely the area of this movement of this domain walls will also increase. And there is another method of by which we can see the rotation of domains. If very strong magnetic field is applied to the ferromagnetic material, the domains are rotated parallelly to the field direction. So you are applying some external field. So what we are actually studying is that what will happen when you apply a very weak magnetic field, and what will happen to the strong when you apply a strong magnetic field to these domains, right? So we just go for this, right? This is what actually the different explanation regarding these walls, how these walls are there. So because of it, see, this is already studied in lower classes. So now we start with the topic called hysteresis. So here this is hysteresis, very very important aspect, which will depending upon these hysteresis, different magnetic materials have been classified, and these classifications of these materials, they can be used for various application purposes. So as we have seen that the hysteresis is actually, the meaning of hysteresis is nothing but it is the lagging of magnetic induction field, that is B, in ferromagnetic and ferrimagnetic material. We just discussed about the ferromagnetic material and ferrimagnetic material, and also antiferromagnetic material. So here, so the lagging of the ferromagnetic induction in particularly ferromagnetic and ferrimagnetic materials with respect to the variation of the applied magnetic field. See here, we want to study about the effect of external magnetic field on the ferromagnetic material. So what is that, what you can say, what is the influence of the external magnetic field on the ferromagnetic material we are seeing here. So in the starting case, the hysteresis is nothing but it is lagging of magnetic induction in the ferro and the in the ferromagnetic materials. And here when you apply the external magnetic field, so the magnetism is right, is responding in the different way. So when this specimen is at a particular temperature, see, when it is happening, it depends upon the type external magnetic field and the type of temperature, at what temperature this is possible. So we'll call the particular temperature where you will find that there will be a lagging of magnetic induction is possible at a very low temperature, that is, we'll say that temperature is a Curie temperature. Now, so when you just plot a graph, see, we need to understand what we are doing here is that we want to understand the magnetic induction which has been done by the external magnetic field. So the variation of magnetic flux density with respect to the magnetic field. So we'll call such particular curve. See the study of the character of the magnetic flux density of and the with respect to the magnetic field, external magnetic field, that is magnetic flux density is denoted by B, and the magnetic field H. So when you just vary it, so you will get a particular structure. That structure is known as, that curve is known as hysteresis curve. You can just see this curve, right? When you, what will happen is that when you apply external magnetic field to a ferromagnetic material, so actually what should happen is that what is happening actually starting end. So as you increase this magnetization, external magnetic field, the magnetic flux density is also increasing and reaching to a particular point where from that if you apply the external magnetic field also, you don't find any change in the flux density, means it is the saturation region, it has reached to a saturation point. So this saturation point is considered to be the region called A. So when what will happen is that when you just switched off the magnetizing force, external magnetic force, actually you should come back from this particular region to the initial origin, but this is not happening inside the ferromagnetic material. From here the magnetizing force, as you the magnetic force is 0, what will happen is that it is taking a different path, and that path is known as, here we'll call this as retentivity, or the residual magnetization. There will be an existence of magnetism, right, inside the ferromagnetic material, even though you just switch off the magnetizing force. And we'll call in this language of what you can say hysteresis, in the case of hysteresis we just call that it is called retentivity or the residual magnetism. From here, now what we want to do is that, now since there is an existence of the residual magnetism when the magnetizing force is 0, you need to apply the magnetizing force in the reverse direction to make that particular what you can say, this particular curve or the magnetizing flux density to be to become 0. So what we will do is that here we just apply the magnetizing force in the reverse direction, reversing the polarity, and in the reverse direction we will apply the field magnetizing force in order to make this particular value to come to its initial position. So we will just call this particular aspect as coercivity. This coercivity is nothing but the existence of the magnetism in the reverse direction, reverse polarization. See, we have shown with here minus h. The minus h here resembles the magnetizing force in the reverse direction. We say this is called coercivity. Again, this particular process will continue, and in the negative direction it will reach to a saturation point in the opposite direction. We say this is called not exactly negativity in the case of magnetism, but it has reached to a opposite direction and saturation point which is similar to the A, right. Here you can just see this A and D is similar, but what is the change you will observe here is that there is a saturation point in the normal case, and here there is a saturation point in the opposite direction. After reaching the saturation, again it will follow a particular path, and this particular path is nothing but we will just consider it to be dE, that is flux density in the opposite direction, and slowly this process will continue to an value f, and again it will increase as you increase the magnetizing force, and it will take a path of saturation again. So now this particular what you can say, the pattern of this curve, this path of the curve which is followed by the ferromagnetic material, which is showing a special character, will say that it's called hysteresis, right. So as we increase the magnetizing force, you can see the value of B is also increasing. Here B resembles what? B is magnetic flux density, and H is the magnetizing force or magnetic field which is applied externally, and the curve develops to a point A, and the point A is a saturation point, and H is further increased. B remains constant, and B is here flux density is remaining constant even though you have just switched off the magnetizing force H. If H is done to be 0, then the value of OB at a point B we just call, just now I have explained you, that is actually the meaning of retentivity. Now when the value of H is increased in the reverse direction, see in the reverse direction if it is increased, then the B becomes 0, and at the point C the specimen gets completely demagnetized, and this value of H where the specimen is getting demagnetized will call that is as OC is called the coercive field. The point where, the region where the field is in the right in which the magnetic flux density is becoming 0, so we will call that as that field as coercive field, and this effect is called coercivity. So in the examination we will ask you what is actually the meaning of retentivity and what is coercivity. So if I increase this magnetizing force further in the reverse direction, so the magnetic flux density also increases in the reverse direction and follows a path called dE instead of dC. So you can just see it is following the path DC, DE instead of CD. So here it is following this particular path here. Now when you see this now if the H is increased in the main in the particular direction, in the main direction the specimen is completely demagnetized at the value of F. Thus the variation of again magnetic flux density with respect to the magnetizing force traced along the closed path ABCDFA will become a particular cycle. We say this is a cycle from where we started with A and we are ending with A. So here you see ABCDEFA is one full cycle of magnetization and demagnetization, which is called hysteresis curve, and the area which is enclosed by this curve gives the energy loss per unit volume of the material per cycle. And depending upon these hysteresis, the different classifications are there, that are hard magnetic material, and the also will have a soft magnetic materials here. So and why we are just studying these hard magnets? Why? Because these hard magnets, how this can be used practically, and how these soft magnets can be used practically in both R&D and the manufacturing industrial purpose. So materials which retain their magnetization and difficult to demagnetize, will call such materials are called hard magnetic. We cannot hard magnetic material, we cannot demagnetize it. So here in the case of soft magnetic materials, they are very easy to magnetize, and also you can just demagnetize it very quickly when compared with the
hard magnets. These materials retain their magnetism even after removal of the applied external field. Just now we just discussed that if you remove the applied external field also, there will be an existence, there will you find, and there will be some magnetic property which is shown by the material. So the same thing, these materials retain their magnetism even after the removal of the applied magnetic field. Hence these materials are used for permanent, making the permanent magnets. And the soft magnets, where in the case of soft magnets you not it will be used for making the temporary magnets, and they have a very large hysteresis loss. We say this is actually whatever the curve just now we explained you, we say that that is actually the area which is bounded by the curve, that is called large hysteresis loss due to the large hysteresis loop area. In here where you find very low hysteresis loss due to the small hysteresis area, the susceptibility and permeability value of the hard magnetic material is low, and the susceptibility and permeability value of the soft magnet are very high. So when you say that coercivity and retentivity values will be large in the case of hard magnet, and the coercivity and retentive values are less, so the storage of magnetic energy will be very high in the case of hard magnet. And due to this low value of retentivity and coercivity, you will find that they are not actually used for permanent magnets. So here they possess very high value of the BH product, and the magnetic energy will be stored very less. So the eddy currents loss will be very high, and the current loss will be less because of high resistivity. You can just take the examples of these hard magnetic materials and soft magnetic materials in the latest section. So now we just discuss, you can just see this domains, right, how the domains will be. Just discuss this, we have taken an example of niobium thin film. So how this particular thing says that these are the domain walls, wherein you will find that magnetic dipoles are there. So how these walls are there, you just can see from the schematic diagrams, right. So now with this we just what you can say, we'll conclude our today's class. In tomorrow's class we'll just discuss about the other topic, in which we'll just deal with the Wies theory, molecular Wies theory, and also we'll deal with the ferromagnetic material. So now we just start with this see, we just start with a simple we'll start with a simple problem here. Actually, right, okay, right, now right, so now see, we started with the magnetism, right. So we started with the magnetism and classifications, right. We'll just have a glance of what we have done: dia, para, and the third one is your ferromagnetic material, ferromagnetic material, right. So now this is so when you study about magnetism, you need to understand a few topics which are related to magnetism. So first one is magnetic induction, magnetic induction, and then next aspect is your susceptibility, susceptibility, and also we want to deal with the other aspect, that is called permeability. See, you should know this important parameters in order to understand this magnetism. So topic: susceptibility, permeability. Next one, we have to deal with the Wies molecular field theory, right. And this is domains with respect to with respect to domains, right? Next one, we deal with the actually hysteresis, start with the hysteresis, right? And we just give importance to your ferromagnetic material, which is having a special phenomena of spontaneous magnetization, spontaneous magnetization, spontaneous magnetization. And also here we have to, again, depending upon the spin, it has been classified into antiferro and ferri, right? Magnetic materials, right? So ferromagnetism is having a special property called spontaneous magnetization. With this, we are actually studying about the hysteresis. In hysteresis, we'll study on x-axis. We'll just take the what you can say, the magnetizing force, right? That is given by H, and on y-axis we'll take magnetic induction, magnetic field, or we'll say magnetic flux density, magnetic flux density, right? So wherein we got this particular values, right? So right, you have taken H here and B here, this particular aspect, you get this type of figure. We'll call this figure as your hysteresis, right? B started with Z, O, B, right? C, D, right? E, F, A. So this particular aspect will say O, A, B, C, D, E, F, and A. So we started with the right A, B, C. Start with the A, B, C, D, and we end with the value A. So we'll call this structure, or the path which is followed, the path followed from the point A and end at the point A, right? Right. So with this, we'll just say this is actually the hysteresis curve, which is responsible. So due to this hysteresis, which is responsible for the classification of magnetic materials. So we talk about ferromagnetic material, right? Ferromagnetic material into soft magnetic material and hard magnetic material, right? Hard magnetic material. So right now, depending upon the soft and hard magnetic material, they are you are having various applications of the soft and the hard magnetic materials. Hard magnetic materials. Right. So now, so this what we have learned in today's class. So what we'll do, see, so we started with the magnetic materials, and we just known to the concept of what is actually the origin of magnetism. Now, how this magnetism is coming into existence when we consider the movement of the electron, right? How the electron is moving, and due to some various parameters of the spin of the electron, the unpaired electron spin is resulting into the exact origin of the magnetism, and that can be also calculated by means of Bose magneton, and we had a value, exact value of Bose magneton. And later in the section we just dealt with the concept of the hysteresis, and how the hysteresis is taking place due to the spontaneous magnetization, which is shown by very high magnetic material, very high magnetic effect which is there in the ferromagnetic material. Due to this aspect, the spontaneous magnetization is existing, and we say that a special property of hysteresis, depending upon this hysteresis curve, right? It has the classifications of materials into hard magnetic material and also into the soft magnetic materials, and we just discuss this concept, right? So we just started with this, see, origin of magnetism in the materials. Again, we just have a small overview, right? We started with this spin of the electron. The spin of the electron is dealing with the unpaired electrons, which is required for net magnetic moment, and due to this orbital movement of the electron, so this effect is possible, right? So the particular topics that we deal with, the domain theory and hysteresis here. So we started with the next topic with the domain theory, which has been proposed by Weiss, and since we will find that ferromagnetic material is possessing magnetic domains, so ferromagnetic material is divided into large number of small regions which are called domains, and which are each domains are exhibited a special property called spontaneous magnetization, and this spontaneous magnetization is different for domain to domain, and then total magnetization will be zero in the case of when no external field is no external magnetic field is applied, and we are having two separation between the domains are said to be domain walls, right? And we started with next important aspect, that is hysteresis. So in the hysteresis is nothing but the lagging of magnetic induction B in the ferromagnetic material and also in the ferrimagnetic material. So now this is how this particular movement of this magnetization induction is magnetic induction is taking place by using the external magnetic field at a very low temperature. You will find that this particular curve is exhibited by hysteresis. Now depending upon this magnetic flux density and the magnetizing external force, so we'll call that the curve which is formed, that curve is nothing but we'll call that as hysteresis, and this has been shown with this particular diagram, wherein you can see this what is actually happening here. So O, A, B, C, D, E, F, A, again starting with this concept saturation point in the particular direction, and D is the saturation point in the opposite direction. So now this is a detailed study we studied with the increase in the magnetic field, what is actually it is affecting the magnetic induction field, and we say that that particular value of the magnetism which is existed even in the absence of the external magnetic field, we will say that is called the retentivity. And also we are having a concept, then a concept of coercivity, wherein we say that the magnetism is existed, right? And this magnetism in the opposite direction which is existed, so this should be what you can remove. So now that is called the coercivity, and the further if you increase the magnetization in the opposite direction, or we say in the reverse direction, it follows a particular path called C. It follows a path DE instead of going to DC. So now if you increase the value of magnetizing force, again the specimen is completely demagnetized, and these variation of B with respect to H, so they follow a particular path which is starting from A. We say that A, B, C, D, E, F, A is a particular cycle, and that particular cycle we say that is known as hysteresis curve. So now with this, the depending upon this hysteresis curve, the magnetic materials is again subclassified into ferromagnetic materials, again subclassified into hard magnets and soft magnets, and we just compared these two things, and with this we just come to the conclusion for today's class. So in the tomorrow's next class we just start with the another topic in the magnetism. With that we'll just end this chapter and we'll start the superconductors. Thank you everyone.